You're Diana. Well, and just all the pieces, so anyway, I hadn't been feeling real good. But I got there. And I got to say, we had a
Lord's blessings.
It can be hard.
Bible study and we worship this morning. It's a pleasure.
Who needs these guys?
So many good things today. I get to do a baptism later on today too. So 2 sacraments, preaching twice, Bible study. Boy, you just can't beat it. We are going to start off by looking at the gospel lesson, Matthew chapter 14. I don't know if we'll spend the preponderance of our time there, but we'll spend some time there looking at a couple things. And Matthew chapter 14, and seeing if we have any additional questions about the reading. You know, the theme of the 5,000 miracle obviously dovetails very nicely in the gospel. Oh, I'm sorry. Bob, it's right there. You can call it if you want to, Bob, but I don't know if it'd be a great use of your time.
It must be.
Then again, it might be.
Is that the handout?
I'm sorry, I thought someone was going to hand it out. I got this. Yeah, okay, great.
Go ahead, just walk in front of the camera.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. There's probably not that many people watching it. It dovetails nicely with the wedding in Cana.
Thank you.
You know, because of the abundance of the thing here, 60 gallons of wine. It's the best wine the guys ever had. And here it's 12 basketfuls of leftovers picked up after everything was said and done. So it's pretty crazy, this story. So, let me just, well, and before we get started, just initial thoughts. When you read the wedding, or when you read the feeding of the 5,000 narrative, what other Bible stories come to mind? Maybe from the Old Testament. What other stories come to mind right away when you hear this story? Yeah, very good, Carl. The manna, right? The manna in the desert. So God feeds them manna, and I've always kind of maybe selfishly thought this way just because I really like Jesus. But, it's kind of like, it's almost one-upmanship where God makes manna, but they have to make it into bread, and Jesus does what? He just makes bread, Not that they're in a competition with one another, but, this would be one place where you look at what Jesus does, and you almost say the miracle that Jesus did is almost more impressive miracle that God did in the book of Exodus. Although, how closely Jesus is related to the manna of Exodus is up for debate, right? I mean, Jesus could be one doing that too, so it's kind of a silly question, but it's fun to think about. I think the manna in the desert is a great one. There's actually one that's more on point, but less people know about. Elisha actually did a miracle just like this. He took a few loaves and fed 500 prophets. They were so Elisha was not the only prophet operating, right? He's just one that most people knew. There were other prophets or people who were at least preaching the word of the Lord. Maybe like we might think of them as kind of Nazarenes. They were people who had devoted themselves to preaching the word, something like that. We might even be able to say, these 500 guys were never given any kind of sense if they had families or if they had wives. So maybe they're tantamount to like monks. I don't know. But they're 500 people who are serving the Lord. And by serving the Lord, of course, the same people who are after Elisha are after these prophets. And what does he do? He takes some barley loaves and he multiplies them. And they all eat and they're filled as well. But what Elisha does for 500, Jesus does for 5,000, right? Plus women and children. So it's not just 5,000, right? So Jesus blows that miracle out of the water, so to speak. Yeah? But it's not as though something like this hasn't happened before. It's interesting.
Well,
go ahead.
And there's Elijah and the widow of Zarephath, too.
That's a great one. The unending jar of flour and the oil. That's a great one, too. That connects up. There's lots of I think, connection points in the Old Testament to the story. The miracle, this is one of the miracles. So the apostles raised people from the dead. And the apostles, like, rebuke fevers and heal diseases. The apostles never do this miracle, and there's another one they never do, that Jesus did. Well, 3, I should say. This one, they never walk on water, and they never tell women ways to stop. So there's maybe a classification here where some of Jesus' miracles obviously have a physical connection. Throwing out a demon is going to have this physical reality, right, to a person. But some of the miracles that he does, I think, have everything to do with the fact that he was the Word at the beginning. He's the creator of the cosmos. So he has authority over these created elements. That's a bad word, but you get what I'm saying. So he has control over the wind and waves. He has control over walking on top of water. And he has control to make a finite. Here's the thing that's really happening, okay? Really think about this for a minute. How many of you are into physics at all? Jesus takes a finite amount of matter and makes it more than it should be. This is not just like a parlor trick. He's breaking down the laws of physics. This shouldn't be able to happen. You see what I'm saying? Like, this amount of matter shouldn't be able to exponentially grow and become this amount of matter. He's breaking down a creative wall that we can't do. The apostles do these miracles, but they are, I think, dealing with spiritual ailments. Even the sicknesses, I think, have a spiritual component. So he's given them power to forgive and retain sins, and he's given them power to rebuke evil spirits, right? So that's within their authority. Jesus' authority, of course, is much larger. Because he's the creator of it all, so he has authority over it all. Yeah? And if lest we think that's crazy, he created the rules of physics, so he has the right, every authority to break them or bend them whenever he wishes. Any other initial thoughts? There's a little section you're talking about when Jesus heard it. So what did Jesus hear that made him withdraw from the crowds? Can you see it there in your scriptures? What did
When John was assassinated.
When he was beheaded, yep. When he was, with that whole rigmarole of asking for his head on a platter, when Jesus hears this story from the apostles of John, the followers of John, he wants to, I really, reading the text, it sounds like he wants to mourn. And he says at one point, he's pointing to a great reality of heavenly citizenship, but he says, I tell you the truth, no one greater on earth has ever been than John the Baptist. It's just like, in other words, in terms of just a plain human being that was ever born of a woman, no one's greater than John the Baptist, just no one, right? But of course, we're not born just of an earthly birth, are we? We're born with the Spirit. So then he says, but I tell you the truth, the least of these is greater than he is. The least in heaven, kingdom of heaven is greater than John. So he's making a larger point, but he does stipulate that John is an incredibly important person. He was a cousin and someone that he cared about. One of the few people that really saw him for what he was. So in John, Jesus finds a certain amount of community, companionship. Like he finds someone who actually gets who he is and really understands it. And then shortly he's killed. Well, that's nice. So he's upset. He wants to withdraw from himself to what? Commune with his heavenly Father. To speak to his dad and talk to him about everything that's going on, and in that communion find peace and comfort. But as he's about to do that, as happens often, what happens?
People seek him out.
The crowds are seeking him out. Now there comes a point in the Gospel of Mark where he's kind of done with that, because they're not coming to him for the gospel and for forgiveness. They're coming to him for all the material, earthly benefits, right? For food, for healings, not for what he has to offer in terms of eternal life. Yeah. But at this point, he is receiving them, even in his tiredness. Now, there's a question here. I don't take a look at this. The very first question there. What does it say about Jesus' report being withdrawn to a desolate place? We already covered that. Even at such time in his life and ministry, he did not decline to minister to the crowd. I'll tell you what, as a pastor, I'll tell you what it makes me think. It makes me think I'm a first-class jerk. you know, because there are times where I'm spent, you know. We've got a lot going on in our life right now because the boys are going home and other things are going on, lots of other things, and lots of things to prepare for. And I just kind of like, I'm really afraid that something big's going to happen. You know, that's what always happens when you're not ready for it. You know, it's like when you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs, like I can totally do like 3 funerals and a baptism right now. That's never when they happen. You know, it's weird. So he had compassion more so than anything. He never looked at those crowds and said, "I'm tired, I'm spent, go away." Right? He always received them. So something to learn from. That's for me as a pastor. What do you guys hear when you see that little bit of scripture? What does it mean to you? What does it make you think? What comments might you have on it? Let's keep it simpler. Let you speak for a while.
Well, it just gives substance to his promise that he will be with us always. That we need never
It's nice.
Worry about his failing to be there for us or with us.
I have to admit that as a father, I feel really disappointed to say this, but as a father, I have not held up to this idea of conditional love. Like, my kids sometimes will get in a mode for long enough where I'll just say, I don't want to see you, I don't want to talk to you for a while, I'm just tired of your garbage, right? And that is the opposite of what Christ would say. Absolutely. There is no limit to him where he would just say, I'm done with you. I don't want to see you anymore.
Steadfast love.
Chesed. That's the, by the way, that's the fun part about that psalm, is that the chesed of the Lord endures forever. That's what it actually is in Hebrew. So when you say it, it's like, it's a lot of spitting. Let's put it that way. Anybody else want to chime in? Go ahead, Joe.
It showed his humanity. He was fully human because he had compassion and love. And, you know, he could feel those things.
Yeah.
Although he was true God.
He had a lot of feelings. You know, feelings aren't necessarily wrong, but Christ had, once feelings kind of emotions, he had emotions, but he controlled them, right? So I think there's a line where sometimes we go too far, right, with emotion. It's good to have them, and it's not wrong to feel them, but Jesus never let in this story exactly here, right? What is he? He's mourning, he's tired, he's probably sad, but he doesn't let his emotions rule the day and push these people away. Yeah, it's definitely something we can learn. In our whole country right now is that it seems as though a lot of things are fueled entirely by emotion and not by what's best for my neighbor.